Ready for it.
Humble pursuit of excellence is just someone who is always willing and want to or seek out further improvements when no one's looking.
Here at New Story, there's just like that really great balance of people who are by no means playing small and by no means are playing too big. Everyone is just humbly pursuing their craft in the most excellent way they know how.
A humble pursuit of excellence you almost don't notice, except you get these little glimpses of people just putting their heart on the line, and that to me is like so special.
You're usually trying things that are harder than what you have the skills for at the time, and so you're constantly learning. If you only ever do things that you can succeed at, then are you really even pursuing excellence?
One example of humble pursuit of excellence that really sticks out in my mind is Carmony learning Spanish. Just how much time and effort she puts into learning Spanish, even though it's not necessarily required for her role. It's pretty awesome to see.
I didn't know that. Now I'm gonna message her in Spanish from now on.
I thought you were gonna be like, well, now I'm gonna go learn Spanish.
Oh.
You do you.
Team of Founders is this idea of bringing your whole self to the team. I worked at a bunch of companies in the past where, you know, as an employee, you show up at 9, you know, you work till 5, you then leave and go home. And New Story definitely doesn't have a culture where we work longer, right? But with Team of Founders, it's this idea that, like, you know, no job is too small for anybody.
And it's not just small tasks, I feel like it's big tasks too. It may be something that you may not be familiar with doing or you've never done before, but that doesn't stop you from going in and tackling it and just to your best of your abilities, because it's an ownership mindset.
If you feel you are struggling in some way, there's no one who won't step in and be like, how can I help you? How can I help you out? Like, people step up to do those kinds of things all the time.
It's easy to say, oh, that person's a smart person, or that person's the strategy guy, like, we'll leave it to them. But no, like, everyone's kind of driven together to excel in all things together. The fire to be able to continue persisting in all of those endeavors as well, I think, is something that is very unique to New Story.
And it just shows such empathy for the rest of the team of just feeling like, instead of like bringing this to somebody else, almost in a way that's just complaining about the fact that there is a problem, and instead just taking ownership and saying, I'm gonna make this happen.
Expressing empathy is putting yourself in someone else's shoes, taking in consideration if someone's having a full week, or if someone's walking through something in their personal lives. We're not separating work and our personal lives, but it's all kind of tied together.
Every person that you work with, that you meet with, is coming into the room with their whole life, their whole worldview behind them. You don't know what happened 5 minutes before they walked into the room. You don't know what their life has been like up until that moment. You just need to be cognizant and mindful of their life and their lived experiences.
This value being a part of New Story makes me feel like I can be a human at work. I can come to the office and not feel 100% and not feel like I'm gonna be treated like I'm just dragging everyone down. If I'm not 100%, then my teammates will be 110% for me.
Express empathy and gratitude is not only among our team members, but at every level of also working with our local partners. I think the Field Ops team is a great example of that. Many of the things that they do is for our local partners on the ground and make sure that they're as successful as we are. It's just little things like that at every level of the organization.
It's how we build our homes. It's how we talk to each other. It's how we invite donors into the process with us. And so I think for us, although it's the most actionable one and that makes it feel task-oriented, it's really more about how does it manifest and how we behave as team members day in and day out, and how does that drive our work?
Having a team that expresses empathy and is able to, like, walk alongside people and give them the space they need, but also encourage them and be thankful for the work they're doing is one of the things that makes New Story very special.
Simplifying is actually one of the hardest things. And if you actually do the work to make something as simple as possible, it's actually going to really amplify whatever it is you're doing, whether it's code, whether it's design, and everything in between. And that is really what's gonna let us have the biggest impact.
By having this specific value, it allows us to expand our knowledge base so that we can always be searching on, is this the best process to run our organization efficiently?
Whenever any organization or group of people are trying to solve something that's so complex, it's very easy to get caught up in super minute details. We don't want to get caught up in complex problems that we can get stuck on forever.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think Simplify is like cutting corners, taking 5 steps and cutting it down to 2 steps, but really it's about taking those 5 steps and seeing like what should be there and what shouldn't be there, and then honing in so that you still get the same if not better outcome, but you've cut down the process to get there.
So many people operate on the principle of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It doesn't have to be broken in order to be improved.
A lot of the pods and breaking into groups and holding ourselves accountable to actually solving issues, I think really embodies Simplify as a value.
For me, the definition of think big, break down, execute, for us at New Story, that means having the ability to think big and make those huge goals, and then to actually break it down into actionable steps where it makes sense in your head and doesn't feel so overwhelming of like, when is all this gonna happen?
Yeah, because even like the execution side, you're not executing on like the thing you thought big about. You're executing on the breakdown pieces, right? The pieces that you broke down, and then once that's all done, then you hit the big.
Right. Ooh, I've never heard somebody say it that way before. And then you hit the big.
And then you hit the big.
That.
Yeah.
We're going after very ambitious goals and ending global homelessness, and that requires us to be very intentional and about what we're going to work on and what we're going to execute each and every day.
It can be overwhelming sometimes to think, okay, how do we get out of just this really big headspace and trying to plan for all these things so far into the future? How do we make it simple and actionable, holding ourselves accountable to actually solving issues?
And I think it's so organic, right? Because the value before New Story had values, and it was just the 3 co-founders trying to fund one home, it came so naturally to them, right? That I think that they have done such a good job. It really did set the tone for the entire organization, right? And that's how it happened, is because there's this huge goal and we have no idea how we're gonna do it. And so naturally, the 3 of them with very different perspectives were like, we gotta break this down, right? So what does that look like monthly, weekly, and then daily, and how do we constantly know that we're on track?
As we grow, the stakes are higher and the decisions are bigger, but still not losing that willingness to think long-term, multi-years into the future, and then get to work making it happen.
Improve through learning and feedback is a core value organizationally, and I think it's so much of how we've gotten to where we are, and that's because nobody thinks that they have the best idea, the perfect idea, the best solution, any of that, right? We're always looking for how we can do things better.
Whatever you're doing, whether it's the smallest task or the biggest one, if you didn't seek improvement, then you would never know what you could potentially improve upon.
In any company I've worked at, some people are there just to do their job and get out of there, and that's fine, no disrespect. But like when you know that everybody wants that and no one's hiding from that, it changes the working dynamic of a whole company in ways that you can't put into words.
I think we live in this culture of like, you have to have an answer to every time someone asks you a question, or if your coworker doesn't know how to do this, you should know how to do it. That's something very different that like most organizations are like, we would never do that. We don't have time to do that. And if we pause to work on research, we're not doing things that we're supposed to be doing.
We're always looking for how we can do things better. And I think it's allowed us to have a true culture of craving feedback, of craving advice, of craving how we can consistently improve. We get to invite others into the conversation and help the entire organization get better every single day.
Yeah, and we have the space to do that, right? Like we're encouraged to, you know, whether it's like going to a conference or something, but just having coffee with somebody else who's like killing the thing that we're trying to do. Right. You know, reaching out and talking to people that have already gone down this road is what makes us, you know, so good at what we do.
Because it can help us fast forward, right?
Yeah.
And the best way really we can improve through learning and feedback is instead of WWJD, WWBD. Stay tuned for the most dramatic season finale of New Story Values ever.